social media as you come in. Hi, Charlotte, lovely to see you. Do you want to just turn off your video? It's not that we don't want to see you. We'll bring you into the breakout room a little bit later. Hello, everyone, as you come into Women in Food and Farming for the March edition. Christine, can you believe it's March already?
It's only just.
Isn't it? Oh, is it? Well, a pinch of the punch of the first of the month.
Yeah.
Right, shall we do the official bits and bobs? Firstly, Christine, it's lovely to see you because I really put your lovely daughter Eve on the spot last time round because I gave her about 30 seconds notice that she was going to introduce the Women in Food and Farming broadcast, and what a fantastic job she did. But it's over to you, please, Christine. Firstly, to introduce Women in Food and Farming and to tell us where you are, because I don't think you're in the north of the UK today. Am I correct?
Yeah. No, I'm actually joining from holiday in Portugal, and but I didn't want to miss it, and particularly wanted to introduce Caroline as our speaker today, because Caroline was actually one of the founding members of Women in Food and Farming and was one of the original people that met on a farm that sort of looked at each other and said, "Crikey, we're all women. We should do more to support each other." And then we started meeting up, and originally I think the first lunch we all had together, I think there was about 12 of us, where those of us who'd been at the meeting, and they invited a couple of others, each invited 2 other people to join us. And we've been going ever since. It's over 10 years now. We were meeting up every three times a year in London. And then with lockdown, we started in November doing these monthly broadcasts. And I've been delighted that almost everybody that I have asked if they would speak has said yes. All of the speaking slots sorted till the end of December this year. So I've got lots of exciting people to bring. But I'm particularly grateful to Caroline, who has hardly missed a single one of the monthly meet, or when we had the physical meetups, didn't hardly miss any of them. And she's been on a fair number of these monthly virtual ones as well. So delighted.
I think she's like you. She's one of the busiest people in agriculture and fresh produce. And we mustn't forget last month's broadcast, which was an absolute stormer with Safi from MDS. And no, Christine, you were dialing in from afar, but the reaction that we got live, and then from people watching the pre-record afterwards, was just her delivery. And if you haven't seen the video, the broadcast, or listen to the podcast of Safi, just tell me or look up Safi on Beanstalk.Global, because it's awe-inspiring. The way that she just told us about her difficult upbringing and how she's now created success for MDS. So I was so proud for her, Christine. I'm so proud for all of you within MDS, the way that she delivered that.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent, and she I think she was very brave in talking about what she did, and a lot of it was quite personal. And I think afterwards she was sort of thinking, I wonder whether I should have said all of that. But I think it worked. It was so personal. It really hit home.
Yeah.
And we're very conscious at MDS, and the new scheme that we've just launched is at for people who might be on a second career, somebody who hasn't gone and done a degree. And just to say, we want you just as much. You can also be a future leader of the industry. And not everybody has been able to go through a conventional education process and have the privilege of having gone to university. And I think that, trying to recruit ex-forces people and people who've done other careers is very much something that Safi's been driving to, I think, give people a chance that maybe never actually got given one.
Yeah, she's an amazing lady. And talking of amazing ladies, shall we bring our speaker in for today, Christine?
Yes.
Caroline, come on in. And Caroline, whilst you're coming in, just got to ask Sally, can you just turn off your video? It's lovely to see you. But you're on next month as the main event, or the month after. I'm not sure. So everyone, just to give you the format of today, if you haven't been involved in Women in Food and Farming, we have a fantastic speaker. Our speaker today is Caroline Drummond MBE, the CEO of Leaf. And we're going to have 20-25 minutes where Caroline and I are having we're going to call it a chat, Caroline, aren't we? And then afterwards, we're going to go into the breakout room, and we'll stop all the social media feeds because we're live onto LinkedIn, onto Facebook, onto Twitter, onto YouTube at the moment. But when we go into the breakout rooms, we will stop all those feeds so that you can catch up with your network and have a good, robust conversation about what Caroline and I are going to talk about. But we always ask this question: Christine, how do you know Caroline? Caroline, how do you know Christine? Caroline, let's go for you first. How do you know Christine, please?
Well, I guess it goes back to when Christine was appointed as head of the farms at the co-op. And we invited her as the after dinner speaker for our leaf demonstration farmer event. And she joined and spoke to our farmers. And yes, I kind of have known you and got to know you better and better over the years. So it's always been a delight to know Christine.
At least 20 years, I think.
Easily.
So do you think that the likes of the relationship that the two of you have, is it unique to our sector? Is this something that the younger generation can learn? Because Christine and Caroline, you've said this on previous things that you and I've done together. It's really key to have a mentor, to have mentorship within the sector. We all can learn so much from both of you. Do you think we should be trying to foster these sort of relationships, the likes of the relationship that Christine, Caroline, that you've got for our younger generation? Christine, what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's funny, people sort of talk about networks, but effectively Caroline and I are part of a network, and we're a network of senior people in the industry. And there's been, for a while, we had just mixed with all of the men, and then realized that actually there's a few women. Why don't we actually do a bit more to support each other? And you meet people, and I certainly know it's the case with Caroline, that actually will look up to her as a role model. And actually, it's all very well having a role model, but if you never get to speak to them and to realize that they're human and that they've got all of the same concerns and self-doubts and imposter syndrome as everybody else, I think that's partly why we've always tried to make sure that we've got people, a younger generation, as well as those us with more experience, should I say, because I think they can meet us and realize that we're just perfectly normal people, and we've had the same doubts that they have.
And Christine,
can I just add to that? Because what amazes my husband is, there might be a big issue going down in farming, and I can pick up the phone to somebody like Christine or Manette or somebody like that, and we will have a different level of conversation that a bloke would probably had with another bloke. And I think that's, that in itself is really special. And he notices that. He says, blokes would never talk like that to each other. And it's about resolution. It's about trying to find solutions and to look through things.
Ask each other for help.
And Christine, just before we commence the chat with Caroline, why did you want Caroline to come on, Christine, today?
Well, partly as I know that she's a role model to so many people. She's a fantastic public speaker. I'm sorry, Caroline, I'm going to set you up a bit here. She's a fantastic public speaker. She has done so much to improve farmers' attitude to the environment, and everything that she does is so on point. That now that with DEFRA looking at what the sustainable farming incentive should be and what they should do, they're key people working with DEFRA. That the DEFRA are piloting their schemes using LEAF. So she's just ahead of her time.
Yeah. Okay, and that's the thread I want to pull on when I have this chat with her. Christine, is that okay if you could turn off your video? Caroline, I still think she's going to go to a yoga session in Portugal because it's due to start. So we'll have to see whether she's doing the lazy dog or whatever the expression is when she comes back on a little bit later. Bridget, could you just turn off your video for us? It's lovely to see you. But if you could, so everyone, it just it reminded me. When Caroline and I did a broadcast last week, that there's a fantastic business, if you're not aware of it, called Blue Skies, that have just set up a new initiative. And we gave Caroline all of 24 hours notice that we wanted her on because it's such an important an initiative. And in our green room, as we call it, just before we went live, I was playing the fool as ever, just trying to get everyone wound up. And Caroline looked me down the eye of Zoom and said, "Right, Max, come on, what's happening? What are we doing?" And Caroline, it reminded me of when I first interviewed you, and it must have been 5 years ago at your offices at Stoneleigh. It was this time of year, and you had a fearsome cold, and I was a bit concerned for you because you just didn't seem particularly that well. And we had a full film crew there, and as soon as we got into the camera, as soon as we got going, there came the ultimate professional, that is Caroline. And I just wanted to endorse you for that. As Christine said, if you want someone who is such an important individual in our sector, we only have to look at the likes of Caroline and also of Christine. But Caroline, does that put pressure on you? Because you've been on this fantastic roller coaster of LEAF, which we'll go into in a bit more detail. But does that put pressure on you to wake up every morning and want to do more and want to do good and all that internal pressure? How does that work with you?
Yes, and I guess it feeds into that comment from Christine, sort of, the imposter syndrome. It's the, wow, how do we get where? Have we done enough? And it is that sort of that constant thinking, there's so much more. And if yesterday the IPCC report was relaunched yet again, and you just think, oh golly, we've got a lot of work to do out there. So yes, and yes, I live in that constant area of tongue-tiedness, but I have I think so, because you sometimes think, oh golly, I'm just waffling and I need to be really clear. And one of the really good lessons, again, it's from my husband. Occasionally when I've written an article, he'll read it and he'll say, what are you saying? And I'll tell him what I'm saying, and he'll say, why haven't you written that? And I think it is that best area of clarity, because we hide ourselves in these wonderful long words of regenerative agriculture and agroecology and biodiversity, etc., when actually people just want clear, simple directions or clear support and things like that.
And imposter syndrome, it's only a term I've really come across in the last 3-4 years. Do you suffer from imposter syndrome? Surely not.
Probably not now, no. Okay. And what my learnings was at a very young age, where I realized actually some people bullshit terribly. Sorry, am I allowed to say that? It's not the BBC. And you just sort of kind of realize that sometimes people will hide behind some very complicated words, and you just, the great thing is to ask that question of, I'm really sorry, but I seem to have missed the point of what you're saying. Could you just say it again? And then they fiddled because they didn't really know what they were saying anyway. So I think it's that curiosity and recognizing, yes, I am comfortable in my skin, comfortable with what I do because I've done it for sort of 30 years plus. But that doesn't mean that I'm still learning every single day and changing every single day. Okay,
Caroline, can I give you a great example? You got to love the Americans, and we normally have a couple of lovely American ladies dialing in, and I'm sure they'll relate to this. We're doing some work with the IFPA, International Fresh Produce Association, which is an amalgamation of the PMA and the United Fresh. We're having a conference call with them at end of last week, and one of the gentlemen on the call said, Max, we want you to come into our wheelhouse. And I was going, what does that mean? And just that lovely terminology. But you must get frustrated, especially with the likes of politicians and I suppose some business leaders, that as you intimate that they'll just use words to pad out a sentence and to make them sound more grandiose. So with your style of wearing that velvet glove, can you get through and actually get to that message that we all want to hear? Can you do that with them?
Oh, I think so, because I think at the end of the day, most people do like talking about what they know or what they're good at. And if they're not communicating it effectively, then actually they will often rethink it through. And, that's why we work with such a wonderful bunch of can-do farmers, because they're the guys that are just thinking, right, this is what works for me. Maybe it would be adapted, experimented further or whatever. But I think when it comes to, many politicians, there are some obviously bluff tremendously, but there are others that are, they are genuine, really genuine politicians who are looking to and striving to do good. And over the years, we've had some cracking ministers and Secretary of States within MAF and DEFRA who actually do believe, and I think perhaps, our big challenge now is that some of that political sort of stability has become a little bit unhinged.
Yep. Okay. And do you think there's going to be an ongoing problem that a number of people, I think, who would be so suitable to go into government, especially with a bias from our sectors, Caroline, they've got no appetite to, because being a politician is such an arduous game now because of social media and everything that's gone over the last 2-3 years. Do you slightly fear about our political system for the future?
No, because I'm inherently optimistic, but there's some good MPs that are going through, and we've got one or two that have got an agricultural kind of lilt as well. So I think that's, that's important. I think we probably need more representation, maybe in the House of Lords. And I think agriculture needs to be much more knitted within the Department of Health, Education, BEIS, obviously the business one, as well as obviously DEFRA. And the more that we can spread agriculture as a solution to climate change issues, to economy issues, etc., the better it's going to be for us.
Yeah, well done. And that's why we need yourself and Leaf. And I used this example last week on the broadcast that we did, and we'll use it again, that I've got a very good friend who runs a large Apple business down in Somerset, and when you walk into his front door, the first thing that you see is his Leaf certificate on one side, and the right hand side is all the pictures of the Leaf Open Farm Sunday successes that they've had. And if it wasn't because of Leaf Open Farm Sunday, they wouldn't have had the integration that they've had into the local community, because they've only been on that particular unit for under 10 years, and it's because they got everyone on farm on the back of everything that they've done with Leaf. So he's such an ambassador of Leaf. Just with Leaf, with you running it, how have you created the values and ethics for Leaf? Because it's all very well pulling out an HR manual and putting the processes and systems in, but you can't teach people values and ethics. It's got to be sort of learned. How have you managed to create that success within Leaf itself, and also the external community that works with you?
I think, as you've alluded, it's all about people at the end of the day. So we, as Leaf, we were the second of a pan-European project, the first being in Germany. And my very first week was to go to Germany to see what was happening over there. And it was the keenness of the brilliant Germans that we were working with, and a really good board. So David Richardson was our first chairman. Yeah. And we had George Jackson. I mean, there was a whole lot of names of the time who sat around the table with a great belief of trying to make things work. I mean, my job description was for a 3-year project to reposition agriculture in the minds of the general public. I think that's probably why we've got to sort of beyond 30 years, because we haven't quite won on that yet. But it was the people, and David Richardson was a very visionary. George Jackson, hugely visionary, and then we very quickly signed up some very forward-looking farmers. There was a lot of chest beating going on as well, sort of saying, like, you are the person who's going to create, don't talk about the environment, because government will then want us to be doing things for it. And, bearing in mind this was 91, and we'd come through the 80s, which was really driven from production. And then came the Silent Spring with Rachel Carson, and some real challenges, because our pesticides were there for killing, and they weren't selective as they are now. And so, there's been a huge change in technology, in capability, and of course in the drive of making sure that we balance not only the sort of the economic viability of productive agriculture, but actually the respect and stewardship of our countryside alongside that. And as you've given your example of your Somerset farmer, you can bet your bottom dollar he's got some really special things on his farm, and special places and special birds. I don't know if you could hear, but the seagulls about this time of night all go to bed. We're quite close to the coast, and the noise is unbelievable, and it's like it's a kind of a 10 minutes to darkness call.
Excellent.
So yeah, I think the real thing is the right people, and then from there, really strong boards, and of course, wonderful team within the Leaf organization, really smart individuals.
Goes to that. So just a couple of points there. Just to point out, Caroline is not in Portugal with Christine. Caroline is in beautiful Cornwall, and hence the seagulls. And if there's one key word I've learned over the last couple of years of doing 180, 190 broadcasts on the UK and international basis is collaboration. And the collaboration that you have looked to instigate over the last 30 years, and all that positive time and effort that everyone has given to create the success that you have done. But is there anything that you feel either yourself personally or and Leaf over the past 30 years that you could have done better, that you would have said to your earlier self, to your younger self?
Well, I think the real thing is you have to go through pain. And so for the first probably 5 or 6 years, there were two of us, that which was Justine Hards, who still works at Leaf, and myself.
Wow.
And over the years, we have experienced severe sort of hardship of will the organization be going beyond Christmas? And that, I think that's a sense of realism of, I've slept on the floor in the Leaf office. We've kind of begged, borrow, steal. We only steal biscuits. I wouldn't like to say that we steal lots of things, and borrows when we're allowed to. But I guess the real learnings are being true to yourself all the way through, and the things that are probably, I don't know if we would have necessarily done things differently. We could have done things faster, taken bigger risks, but I just wonder whether we would have had the same opportunity to keep people with us. I was just reading an article I wrote in 2002, and I just thought, oh my goodness, things haven't really changed as much as we would want them to change, and we need them to change. So it was the same sort of kind of where we are at the moment. And I think I wish we'd done more data collection. I wish we had probably recorded. I mean, we record things, through our annual review. We keep, obviously, we've got all the audits from 1993 when they were carbon copy documents that farmers used to send through. And, so things have changed. But I guess more than anything, is to ultimately have no regrets.
Well, it sounds like you're being a bit hard on yourself on the basis of what you've created to date and the endorsement that you're getting. But it's what I was looking to bring in the intro, that you've got this positive pressure. You're so driven as an individual, and Leaf is so driven on the back of that. What's next? Tell us the strategy on the basis that you've created this amazing foundation over the last 30 years. What are you now looking to achieve? Where's the growth? Where's the engagement? Are you just going to be procured to the UK, or are you looking globally? Tell us
globally,
tell us your secrets.
World domination, of course. I think for us, we've set obviously a 10-year strategy. It's to take us to 2031. Wow. And the next 5 years are going to be rocky. We cannot deny that. They will be, because of and it's really, if you want to kind of find who's the puppeteer out there, it is the United Nations, the how Davos look at the risks and uncertainties. It's not responding to climate change. It's not responding to the cyber attacks, and now what is social cohesion, i.e. political unrest. So there are those sort of things that are out there that you've got to be aware of. But by 2030, we've got to deliver against the Sustainable Development Goals, the Paris Accord, what comes out of COP15, which is obviously the biodiversity, biological diversity COP, and much more. And, of course, net carbon zero, build up our biodiversity, ensure that we have rural livelihoods really active in our countryside. So therefore, our ambition has been very much to gear up against what we do. 3 areas of knowledge generation exchange, that's farmer to farmer learning and good practical support. It's around Leaf Mark, and I'll come back to that, and it's around education and public engagement. As you say, new ways as well, not just Open Farm Sunday, but new ways of inspiring people to have a lifelong love of farming, obviously. And I think, our big pull now is Tesco made the announcement in September last year. And with that, by the end of this year, all UK produce being sold by Tesco will be Leaf Mark certified. And by the end of 2024, it will be all their global produce. Now, we have ongoing commitment, obviously, from Waitrose and from Marks and Spencer's. And Lidl have just made a recent announcement as well. So that will be by the end of 2023, all their supply from the UK will be Leaf Mark certified. So that's going to drive change. It'll drive change in different ways, from those farmers who said, oh, you know, I thought I should be doing this anyway, right through to those of, oh God, you know, oh, right, here we go. And it's for us, you know, we're not just a farm assurance scheme, we're beyond farm assurance. And that's something that's really important. We've got to create a way that it adds value, both in the marketplace to people's lives and to people's business efficiencies. And so that's, you know, what we will continue to strive. And as you say, collaboration all the way is key. And our global collaboration is going to become more and more important on smarter ways of how we deal with some of the crop physiology challenges that are starting to demonstrate themselves through this, you know, these extreme weather conditions. You know, look at Australia, 43 feet of flooding, right through to the impact of now the wildfires out there, which is starting, you know, with the ozone layer is not mending as fast as it was, sort of thing. So there's some real challenges out there.
I in my day job of recruitment, so we recently ran a fascinating project to source a farm manager for a lovely estate in East Suffolk, and it was the first farm manager position I ran where the job description from the owner stated the keywords of sustainability, regenerative agriculture, carbon neutrality, and wanted to become a member of LEAF. They weren't previously a member of LEAF. So when I questioned them on this and stated, so you're not looking to be an industrial farm? Said, no, we are, with our 2,500 hectares, we know we've got the ability to do good. It's got to be a commercial farm, but we want to do good for the long term. We know these are slightly buzzy words and we don't quite understand sustainability, regenerative carbon neutrality, but we think if we can find the right manager and also integrate ourselves into LEAF, LEAF will show us the way as to how we can do good through our land. I found that fascinating. And it's Caroline, it's like dominoes. We then got a phone call a couple of weeks later from one of their neighbours who's looking to source another farm manager and wants exactly the same thing, someone who will be able to get them into the LEAF way of thinking. So there's that quiet and hopefully loud revolution ongoing. Can we just explore the international side a little bit more, because it's all very well doing it within the UK, he says. It's only taken you 30 years to gain that penetration. How are you going to look to explore going even further international? Will that be with collaboration, or will you set up LEAF offices or have alliances with other trade groups? How will you do that, please?
Yeah, so we already operate in 21 countries. So many UK growers will all have businesses, whether it be in Spain or Ghana or places like that. And so from that point of view, you know, there's some good people sort of who are ambassadorial, who we can certainly work with. We're just doing some UKRI work. So Claire, Mike and Pilar in the LEAF business team are looking very much at the detail of, you know, what are the steps that we need to be looking at? Is it English speaking? Is it conductivity in terms of connections and things like connectivity? Is it there are already demonstration farms there? There's good research there. There's good infrastructure. There's poor infrastructure. So what we're doing is trying to kind of sectorize territories in effect that are much more effective. And I guess, you know, enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm, doesn't it? Like negativeness feeds negativeness. So I think there's a lot of people. I mean, one of the IPPC statistics yesterday was that 40% of the world's population is already impacted by climate change. And so when you start looking at some of the big challenges that are out there, then actually, you know, what is it that we can learn? What is it that we can share? What is it that we can improve to ensure that, you know, we have a certain amount of stability in this very unstable world?
And on a marketing perspective, I love that expression of why care and share. If you get a parent at the school playground to talk to another parent and start the conversation of, or have you tasted this fresh produce from Tesco's? It's got to be good because look, it's got this little green leaf on it. You must try it. And therefore the other parent goes. So I love that expression of care and share. And hence I want to give that direct example about the farmers. because we all know farmers are like. They tend to be a little bit like sheep sometimes. They'll follow each other if they see a good thing. But in a positive way, it feels like you're just on the cusp of something very significant here. Having signed up Tesco's, it's great that you already had Waitrose and M&S under the proverbial belt, but to get Tesco's, that's massive, Caroline. And I'm just going to say it on behalf of all of you, that's such a huge thing. This is going to be a big springboard for you. It is. Well, are you going to be able to? How are you going to be able to cope with that growth as it comes through? How do you plan for success in a situation like that?
So first of all, help, please, everybody around the table. And secondly, I think, it's recognizing what we deliver. So we deliver a standard. The certification is carried out by certification bodies. And so therefore, the process of actually delivering this should be straightforward. The reality is obviously different people need different levels of support to get them into the starting block or over the next hurdle and things like that. So of course there'll be some for that. But as Tesco did a lot of due diligence in ensuring that we were fit for purpose for what they wanted to deliver in sustainability. And one of the reasons is that their work with WWF is because they're trying to halve the footprint of the basket. So that'll be not only carbon footprint, but also, your biodiversity and impact of water and things like that. So they did a lot of due diligence around Leaf and felt it was fit for purpose. But I think, we've put a huge amount in the planning, and we're going through the planning process now. And as you said, how do we operate on a global level? It will be collaboration. It might be that we work with others. We might get equivalents, and all of those are now in the bag of discussion and thought and change.
And I'm so, well, does this sound patronizing? I'm so proud of you that you and Leaf have got a 10-year plan. I meet so many businesses that don't have a plan for next week, let alone 5 years, 10 years out. And I know, we all know that so many things are going to change, but if you've got that direction that you're going in, and you can be fleet of foot, but at least you've got that direction, you've got all the team on board and everyone externally on board, you've got that direction to go in. How can we help you? How can we all help you, whether it be those dialed in the UK or internationally? How can we help Leaf to be a continued success, please?
So I think thank you for that opportunity. I think firstly is helping support or understand what we do, because sometimes people only see part of what we do. And please visit a Leaf demonstration farm or speak to others in the team, and of course myself when we next kind of see ourselves face to face. I think if people feel, well, we've got something to offer here, or we might be able to help you in some way, or you're farming, then going down the Leaf Mart route is really key. And where you find challenges and sort of thinking, well, this isn't working for us, to actually let us know. Sometimes it's it can be quite a naughty but fun sport, is where you have a farmer who complains about something bitterly and on the written word, and we had this once with the paper audit back in the 90s, and it was not good what they'd written across the Leaf audit. So I phoned them up and said, I'm really sorry. And the automatic there, oh, no, I didn't really mean it, it wasn't personal. And I think we need to come to solutions, because if things aren't working, then we either need to change them, or we need to help support somebody deliver against that change. So if there's anything that people around the table here can help in that way, is really key.
Okay,
and
so
of course we build. Sorry,
go on, Caroline.
Well, we build on obviously Red Tractor here in the UK as a core standard, and Global Gap on a global basis.
Yeah. We've had Christian Muller from Global Gap on last month, and we've got Jim from Red Tractor on next week, and I'm going to cross-reference both of you. So really looking forward to that. So we've got to keep engaged with you. We've got to keep collaborating with you to further the success for Leaf, because it's going to be our success as well. So you state you're an optimist, but oh crikey, we're an interesting Interesting times. There's a farmer that's due to see me shortly, who's a very big producer of vegetables, and he is not the happiest of individuals at the moment because he's putting so much time and effort and money in, but all he ever sees is rising costs, especially more so now with electricity and fuel, and he never sees the return that he feels he's justified from the retailer. Farmers' future. Come on, here's the big one. What do you feel are the risks and the opportunities? What are the risks and opportunities for farming, Caroline, as you see them now?
So I think that the big risk is this challenge of transition into a new era for sort of core farmers. And a lot of fresh produce growers, of course, have not really been involved historically in things like, you know, ELS and HLS, etc. Or it's HLS they would have been. But I think, you know, one of the real risks is that very issue. You know, labour's up 15%, fuels, you know, fertilizer, you're talking 200, 300%, you know, all the time we're seeing increasing costs and getting access. There's nothing spare. There's no spare time. There's no spare people. There's no spare money. So the capability to be able to invest to transform farm businesses is absolutely critical. And I guess, you know, one of the challenges is going to be ensuring that we have enabling legislation in this area, that some of the investment funds really realistically support farmers in making new choices on their businesses. And it's really, you know, I kind of follow the USDA information and emails, and all the time, you know, another great big pot of funding going to support some infrastructure change. And that's, you know, that's definitely needed. And of course, then, yes, that little challenge of the price of food and that squeeze, those very squeezed margins. And it's a big challenge, and it's a bigger debate that should have come out and maybe will come out of the National Food Strategy.
Yeah, well said.
In that it's around, you know, poverty, and actually as a farming sector, you know, we're not a social service to support the challenges of poverty. We need to sort out the real challenges of poverty to bring some level of equity in this area. And I don't know the answer on that, but everybody has a right to good quality food. And we have a situation where, you know, there are more and more people that have, I think it was a 19% increase or something, wasn't there, for food banks. So, you know, that's a short-term challenge. The long-term opportunity is that, you know, ultimately we're growing health. We as a farming industry should be seen that, you know, what we grow is, we grow food, but we grow health, and we grow health for our environment, and we grow health for people, so that our nutrition is not supplemented by little pots of vitamins, but is actually supplemented by food we eat, and healthy food that we eat.
So you're positive about the future?
Definitely, yes.
And we've just got a great question from Kirsty. Just wanted to segue in. Caroline, you say you faced lots of challenges along the way of your career to date. What advice would you give to individuals who are trying to instigate changes within their businesses, in particular young people who may not have the power of reputation behind them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's partly belief, it's evidence, and it's homework. So there's a brilliant quote from Abraham Lincoln. If you give me 6 hours to cut down a tree, I will spend 5 hours sharpening my axe. And very many times, if you have got people sort of that you're trying to work with, if you have the one-to-one conversations of saying, you know, this seems to be like a possibility, eventually you will get the fact that you've got, I don't know how many people you're working with, but the 8 or the 30 or whatever that you're working, or the 3, all on your side, because it's important to understand, why do people resist things? And they resist things because they fear it, or it's going to be too much hassle, or they don't see the benefit from it. So if you can create the opportunity to get people on your side, because you think, look, this is kind of like a no-brainer. Obviously you can't say that to them, but you know, it's really trying to get people thinking, yeah, you've got something to say. And however young you are, your voice is really just as important. And it's a poor person who won't listen to a young person.
Exactly. And I find more and more that mature people are more charitable to younger individuals when younger individuals are looking to progress. I haven't seen an example yet of someone being rebutted away. Everyone seems to be very charitable is the right word, very open to assisting those individuals. So Caroline, we're just running out of time. We could spend all day with you. I normally pose this to Christine. We're going through some really trying times at the moment, and I do feel that we need to get inspiration from. I'm just going to call you a leader, because you are a leader within our sector. You're so inspiring. What word of hope can you give for us, for our sector at the moment, and for where we are in these current times? How would you like to sign off this broadcast in a positive note, please, Caroline?
So I guess it's a kind of almost a quote, but if you can think it, you can do it. And when you think of, golly, what am I want? I want more. I want nature to be working harder with our technology. I want productivity. I want climate change reduction. If you can think it, then actually somehow we can work out solutions to really solve it.
Fantastic. Caroline, you're brilliant. Christine, can you come back in? So it'd be interesting to see what Christine thinks with her background, with the likes of Co-op Farms, Grocery Code Adjudicator, the chair of Red Tractor. Christine, what are your thoughts? What are your takeaways from Caroline, please?
I think just first of all, to see what she's achieved. You were the very first chief exec of Leaf, and how many people did you have when you first started? Were you on your own?
So I started on the 1st of June, 1991, and just me. And then Justine Hards, who's obviously still employed with Leaf now, she started in September. So it was the two of us for a long time. Yeah.
And so she has single-handedly built up an organisation that I think she said was operating in 21 countries, with Britain's largest supermarket signed up to them. And it's just absolutely, you've always been dead certain about what you're doing, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I believe, yes, and you've got to believe, haven't you, at the end of the day.
Also, I think I'd also say you've actually got a good board, haven't you? You've got people behind you. There's a rooting for you. You presumably for quite a long while had more people on your board than you had in the business.
Yes, indeed, actually, yeah, and there's a lot of people who are just really good, and you were talking about mentors earlier, and it's so important to find those people that you just think, oh, can I just have 5 minutes of your time, and go out and meet your heroes, sort of thing.
Yeah, and staying on the subject of boards, I'm trying to persuade lots of people that they should have young people on their boards, up to date, and make sure that they know what they're doing. But of course, the first thing that any young person, say they're under 30, they're going to be asked, what board experience have you got? And they're going to have none. Is that something that you're considering?
Yes, so there is an organisation, I can't remember what they're called. They're called something like the Young Board Initiative. Sorry, I can't remember. But they basically are trying to encourage people to get young people on the board. So it was something that I'm trying to encourage some of our younger staff to think about it. And I'm just sort of broaching it with our board to say, look, it would be good to get a young voice. And I think it's particularly important for the engagement area. But it's hard because young people don't always have the time. And in addition to that, sometimes it's a bit scary to kind of start the conversation and think your voice is being listened to. But if we can get it right, then yes, very good idea.
Right, to my mind, it's part of diversity, and within because everybody that all of our trainees are generally under 25. I thought it was important to have somebody young on the board as well, and to say it doesn't matter that you've got no previous board experience. I actually want you here for your opinion, and you'll learn how to be a board member.
I don't know if you can segue us in, ladies, but I always call it the forklift driver scenario. I've been to so many businesses in the UK that if you want to find out what's actually going on within that business. Talk to the forklift driver or the equivalent, because they know everything that's going on, more so than the MD at the top, because the MD at the top can be slightly in their ivory tower and a bit commercially lonely as to what's going on. So to have younger people within a business in a board, whether it be that company's board or another board, I think it's an inspired idea, because they'll be able to bring fresh thinking and also a realization of what's going on in the outer world rather than just in that business. So Christy, I think that's a great idea. And Caroline, if you can get some of your team signed up on that basis to other boards, that'd be amazing to watch.
I don't know if you know, Max, but I'm a CITB approved forklift truck driver instructor.
Well, thank you very much. And can you just confirm that you, Christine, are as well, that you have your forklift ticket?
I didn't hear what you just said, Max. Sorry, would you?
Can you drive a forklift, Christine?
No, I can't, but I can tell you that Caroline knows everything that's going on at Leeds. You don't need to find a forklift truck driver.
Boom. Okay, so everyone, we're running out of time. We've just got one question that I love, Caroline, that's just coming from WhatsApp. Behind every successful CEO of Leaf, there's a dairy farmer. Caroline, how would your husband describe you, please?
It varies.
No, you got to answer. We want to know the answer. We love your husband. We want to hear what you say.
Well, I mean, he didn't get to see very much of me before COVID, so probably perfect. I think yes, we have a lot of respect for each other, and I think from that point of view, it's good. I think he would, yes, scatty and obsessive is probably how you would describe me.
And we would also interject that with brilliant. Christine, do you want to wrap up for us for a March episode of Women in Food and Farming with Caroline, please?
Well, I obviously want to thank Caroline not only for what she's done today, but all of her support of women in food and farming. And, long may it continue. And thank you very much for agreeing to speak to us. And I'm delighted to have had you along. And I hope lots of people are watching this either online or catch up afterwards. And also to say that our speaker next month is Roseanne Davis, who is the supply chain food quality and safety so she's in charge of sustainability at B Corp. And some of you may have heard of B Corp, but many organizations are getting them B Corp certified. And they will check all of your credentials. So this is I'm not sure if any farming businesses actually are B Corp, but all sorts of businesses are signed up to them. And it's just trying to set they've set standards, and the businesses are then finding standards that they can live up to. So it's very much on the same theme that Caroline's been talking about and carrying that forward. And Roseanne's background is all in fruit with Cape Span. And so it's very, very from our area, but then moved into B Corp and going to teach us all about it.
That's excellent. Caroline, Christine and her colleagues, including yourself, do such a good job in bringing in these such interesting and enlightening speakers, including yourself. So everyone, thank you very much for your time today. We're going to cut off the social media feeds, but we can then go out into the breakout room so you can catch up with Christine and Caroline. And then after that, we can all go do yoga with Christine in Portugal, doing the dog or whatever the expression is. So everyone, thank you very much for your time on Women in Food and Farming, and we'll swap over to the breakout rooms now. Thank you.